Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the Internet of Water Coalition today. I'm Faith Sternlieb, and I'm Associate Director here at the Center for Geospatial Solutions, where I focus on engagement for the Internet of Water. Today, Johnny Singh of Oak Ridge National Labs will be sharing information today about a platform called HydroSource, an exciting hydropower data analytics and tools platform, and also an IOW water data hub. But before we get started, I'd just like to cover a couple of housekeeping items. We are recording the webinar today, so the recording and slides will be available on the Internet of Water YouTube channel a week after the webinar. So if you'd like to refer to anything you hear today, feel free to log on to the IOW YouTube channel, and you can take a look at the webinar and share the link with your friends and colleagues. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please drop it in the Q&A section, and we will go through questions after the presentation. If you have any technical issues, please put those in chat, and we will try to help you get that fixed as soon as possible. So now on to the main event. I am pleased to welcome Debjani Singh, Senior Scientist of the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. Her research focuses on better understanding interactions between the water, energy, and climate nexus at diverse spatial and temporal scales. She is the principal investigator for HydroSource, a project funded by the Department of Energy's Water Power Technologies, and as I mentioned, an IOW Water Data Hub, which you will learn about today. Internet of Water, so myself and my colleagues have been working very closely with Debjani on HydroSource, on both the data and technology aspect, but also through engagement to increase awareness about HydroSource and to fine-tune the platform so it is more user-friendly and applicable to a wider audience. We're excited to have her join us and to have all of you as well. And with that, let's get started. Thank you, Debjani. If you could share your screen.
Yes. Okay. I'll do full screen. Okay, so are you able to see my first screen?
Yes, your first slide and only the slides.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
You're good.
Okay, thanks, Faith, and good afternoon, everyone. And thank you once again for joining me and my colleagues at the Internet of Water to learn more about HydroSource. So in my presentation today, I will be presenting you with a broad overview of HydroSource to help you understand and use the resource for your day-to-day work. So we all know that information on technologies, available resources, species distribution, and hydropower market is widely dispersed. It's very difficult to identify and gain access to. And additionally, like greater uncertainty about the effects of shifting climate, then energy needs and water use, ecosystem health, and other factors makes decision-making on a long-term water management difficult and time-consuming. So this limited access to data restricts the ability of stakeholders in industry, in the federal and state government, and also in the academia to plan, regulate, and study integrated water energy systems, particularly at the river basin scale. So the HydroSource digital platform, therefore, addresses this lack of access to information that is necessary to support decision-making in the hydropower world. So it's an online platform that is funded by DOE's Water Power Technologies Office and consists of comprehensive data tools about the US hydropower assets that enables data-driven decision-making at the water energy nexus. So as part of the HydroSource project, we assess what data would be impactful and efficiently onboard that data and develop public-facing interfaces with this data that meets the need of the hydropower stakeholder community. We have developed data collections and tools to effectively consolidate large, disparate, and dissimilar data sets from a range of sources across the hydropower spectrum and help the community to use these authoritative synthesis of diverse data sets for performance, operations, costs, maintenance, permitting, and environmental mitigation to better identify opportunities and weigh potential trade-offs at the basin scales. So such access and analytical capabilities will help inform a well-designed long-term research strategy to support the maintenance and expansion of the U.S. hydropower fleet and reduce its environmental impacts and identify ways how hydropower can contribute to improve grid resiliency, reliability, and integration. So our user community is ever evolving and comprises of hydropower operators, developers, then federal agencies and resource agencies, the regulatory agencies and decision makers at federal, state, and local jurisdictions, and also non-governmental organizations, academia, and the public. The HydroSource team proactively engages with this diverse base of hydropower end users and potential stakeholders in the water data community to understand and support their needs. So this is the overall summary visual of HydroSource, which shows the main components of the digital platform. As you can see, that includes the various themes of authoritative multidisciplinary science data on energy, water, and resource characterization and assessment, as well as environmental, hydroclimatologic, and market and cost data. So these data sets are used in our analytic tools and products to address scenario-specific objectives, which are utilized downstream by various stakeholders for decision-making. For example, you can identify the existing assets in your state or in the river basin of your choice using the existing hydropower assets dataset and then analyze the generation over the years using the HydroSource Data Explorer tool, and then use the results of your analysis in your decision-making process or any report of your choice. So the HydroSource website, you can access it through hydrosource.ornl.gov, and it consists of hydropower-related datasets created from diverse sources, as I mentioned earlier. A data model which shows the linkages between the various data sets. Then there are visualizations and analytics tools that will support and enable hydropower research and development on topics of national interest, such as hydropower market acceleration and deployment, resources assessments and characterizations, and then environmental impact reduction, and also climate change impact assessment. We also have technical reports for you to refer to, such as the hydropower market report and reports on the assessment of the effects of climate change on federal hydropower. So all the data sets on HydroSource are listed on the dataset lister as is seen here. And we provide data on existing hydropower assets or hydropower potential through non-power dams, new stream reach development, that is the hydropower potential of a stream reach that you can potentially develop if you want to, depending on its, like hydropower generation potential. And then a lot of environmental data sets. One of them is environmental attributes and also the environmental mitigations that are associated with hydropower development. So for each data set, we have a landing page that provides you with all the metadata associated with that data set, and also a digital object identifier or DOI that you can use to cite the data set. And also a lot of the data sets will have the related publications, either in the form of journal papers or in the form of reports that you can access and learn more about the data sets and cite either the methodology or the analysis in anywhere that you want to use them. So another data set of interest is the CMIP6 based multi-model hydroclimate projection over the conterminous US. Since there is ongoing research on the implications of climate change across various stakeholder groups, this is an important data set that we provide to our HydroSource stakeholder group, along with another one that is the CMIP6 based multi-model stream flow projections over conterminous US. So these data sets are related to, like the impacts of climate change on hydropower across the US and would help you all explore what can be the possible changes in hydropower generation over the years. We have also developed various types of visualizations in the form of static or thematic maps and dynamic and story maps. The National Hydropower Map provides a visualization of the distribution and characteristics of US operational hydropower plants. We provide the National Hydropower Map as both a static map that you can use in your presentations or as a dynamic visualization where you can zoom, pan, and see the attributes of the different assets across the country. We also provide thematic maps, as I mentioned earlier. So the relicensing thematic map series provides a snapshot of the facilities that are up for relicensing at various spatio-temporal scales. So please feel free to visit some of these visualizations and use them in your work. It just helps you not to, develop the visualizations. We just provide you all with ready-made visualizations that you can use in your presentations or in your reports. And also helps you understand some of the data that is underlying these visualizations. Okay, so our tools include the HydroSource Data Explorer, the US Stream Classification System, the SMH Explorer, the Basin Scale Relicensing web application, then the Environmental Decision Support Toolkit, and the NPD Explorer or the NPD DAMCAT. So I will not go into the details of all the tools. I kind of selected a couple of them, but for an overview of the US stream classification provides a classification of 2.6 million stream reaches across CONUS. So suppose you might want to find a suitable reference stream or understand what type of stream ecosystem you are studying. So this application can help you do that. The application also provides users an ability to conduct an inventory of the hydrologic regimes, the thermal regimes, the size, gradient, and valley geomorphology of the rivers within a region or a basin. Doing so, the streams can be used to identify, idle environmental conditions and also can be used to search for reference streams or case studies meeting the search criteria. So this application is expected to increase the effectiveness of the hydropower regulatory process by creating an objective and data-rich means to address meaningful mitigation actions. So the next is the Environmental Decision Support Toolkit, which is designed to characterize and summarize the best available science for use by diverse hydropower stakeholders. It also provides transparent and consistent methodology for identifying and discussing potential environmental impacts during hydropower licensing negotiations, and also points users towards key river function indicators of concern to reduce the time and cost of hydropower licensing negotiations and promote greater certainty in federal authorization processes for hydropower development and relicensing. So the centerpiece of this EDS toolkit, as it is called, is an online interactive and science-based river function indicator questionnaire that provides stakeholders with a systematic and transparent method for identifying the potential environmental impacts of a hydropower project. So please feel free to try this out and let us know if you have any questions or how we can improve some of these tools. So another tool that I would like to demonstrate to you all is the Climate Hydro Analytics platform. So this is a tool that we are currently building, and I thought of sharing with you all because right now I'm in East Tennessee and we were snowed in by a winter snowstorm yesterday. So this is so much relevant now with all the climate changes, like happening around us. So this platform allows you to download the like climate or hydrologic related data of your choice. So in this, you can select, like what is your reference, the meteorologic forcing, then you can select the climate model that you want. We have a series of climate models that we have analyzed. And then if you want to select your downscaling method, and then, like one of the emission scenarios, you provide with a time scale. It can be daily, monthly, or annual, the dates, and whichever variable you want to analyze. And then you select your area. It can be select any of the HUCs, the hydrologic unit codes, or you can upload a area of your choice, which can be a GeoJSON file, and then you can download the data in, like you can download the data in any format that you want to. So right now we are providing data in a GeoTIFF format that you can use in your geospatial platform, but we are enabling other formats also, like CSV. So the base format for all this analysis is the NetCDF, which is a complicated scientific format that may not be useful for a common user. So this platform will help a novice user or a common citizen to access many of these data sets in a user-friendly format of their choice. So another tool on the HydroSource digital platform is the HydroSource Data Explorer, which provides specific analysis and visualization capabilities that can be applied across the platform's many datasets. So this empowers the hydropower community to quickly harness the available data to make informed decisions. So you can visit this tool and take a tour where we will show you how to use the tool, or you can get started with some of the examples or use cases that we have for you. Or you may directly explore the data hosted by the tool on your own. So some of the use cases that is supported by the HydroSource Data Explorer are listed here. So we can estimate the hydropower generation and capacity by any administrative or hydrologic boundaries of your choice. We can also visualize the future hydropower potential of a basin based on the data that we have. And we can analyze existing facilities or hydrology around a new development site. By a new development site is one where you would want to develop a hydropower asset. We can also identify hydropower plants that are up for relicensing in a basin or a state. And then we can recognize some of the mitigations that are associated with the hydropower plants that are up for relicensing in a basin or a state of your choice. So I will demonstrate some of these capabilities to you. So we'll start off with estimating hydropower generation and capacity. So you can select any basin of your choice. I went ahead and selected region 6, which is the Tennessee River Basin. And in that basin, you can select the operational plans to see, like how many operational plans are within your basin. So in this case, we have the ones that are within the Tennessee River Basin highlighted, as you can see. And then you can see what all attributes are associated with those operational plans. And you can either remove some of the plans from your consideration based on their generation capacity or their, or other attributes of your choice. And you can compare the plans based on the attributes of your choice. Like we have a visualization or we have a graph that provides you so that you can compare the attributes of more than one hydropower assets in the basin of your choice. You can also do some quick time series visualization on the annual gross generation, the net generation, or the monthly gross or net generation, and the annual capacity factor. As you can see, you can select any plant ID based on from the list, and then you can see what is the average gross generation or the average net generation across the years. Or you can do the same thing for your monthly, like gross generation and monthly net generation. And finally, you can download this dataset as a shapefile or as a CSV file or a JSON or a GML2 format and use it in any ways that you want to. So the data that you downloaded is the ones that is selected from this analysis. If you want to download the whole data set, like the existing hydropower assets across the whole country, then you would have to download that data set from our data lister. So another use case that we can use HydroSource Data Explorer to is visualizing the future hydropower potential of a basin. In this case, I selected the region 5 or the Ohio River Basin, as you can see, and selected the new stream ridge development, which provides you with the generation potential of each Huck 8 basins within the Ohio River Basin. So you can see what is the potential monthly energy that can be generated in each of the Huck 8s across the Ohio River Basin, and also what is the potential capacity factor, and also what is the potential annual energy generation by Huck 8 across the river basin. So in this way, you can identify areas that have a higher generation potential and can focus or drill down into those areas. Or you can just have an idea of what is the spatial variation in the generation or capacity of across a river basin of your choice. You can also select basins or identify basins based on thresholds. Let's say you want to have like a potential annual energy above, let's say, 20,000 or 50,000. So you put in your maximum ceiling and the minimum floor, and then it's going to select only the Huck 8s or the smaller or the areas that fall within your constraints or within your criteria. So in that way, you don't have to go over the whole basin and just focus your analysis only to that area that you are interested in. In addition to the new stream ridge development dataset, we also have a non-power dam dataset that provides you with an idea of all the non-power dams across the country. So in this case, as you can see, the non-power dams are selected within the area of our choice, that is the Ohio River Basin. So when we are visualizing the future hydropower potential of a basin, we usually take the hydropower generation potential of the non-power dams within the basin and also the hydropower generation potential of each of the Huck 8s within the basin. So as you can see, we have some of the non-power dams overlapping on some of the Huck 8s that we are considering for future development. And in the same way, you can sort through the non-power dams and identify the ones that have a higher potential of energy generation. And along with this, another thing that you can see is, are these non-power dams in areas where there is a higher potential for energy generation from the streams. So in that case, those areas becomes interesting areas of exploration for future hydropower generating potential. So we can also analyze existing facilities or hydrology around a new development site. Now this map looks a little busy because these are the USGS gauging stations across the country. So you can select any gauge, USGS stream gauge, and then this analysis is powered by an API from USGS. So stream navigation API from USGS. So if you select a USGS stream gauge and select a stream geometry, we have the options of an upstream main, downstream main, upstream tributary, or downstream tributary. Then it maps the line from your point of interest all the way downstream as far as it can go. So over here, as you can see, that I selected a USGS gauging station, and then I selected a downstream main, and then it provided me with the whole downstream river all the way down to the Gulf. And then if you want to see what are the operational plans along that line, then you see all the operational plans that are along that line that helps you understand some of the hydrology associated with the existing assets. Now you can go back to, like USGS gauging stations and see what is the hydrology along these existing hydropower assets that we have. So this helps us in exploring the existing facilities or the hydrology around a new development site. So that can be all found in one place with this HydroSource Data Explorer. So you don't have to go all the way to USGS and download the data, then come to HydroSource and download the data, and then do your own analysis. So we are providing you with the opportunity to do all the exploration in one platform. So another use case that we can demonstrate is to identify hydropower plants that are up for relicensing in a basin or state. As you know, that hydropower relicensing takes some time, and it is always helpful if we can identify all the assets that are up for relicensing within a basin or a state. So what we do is we again select a basin or state of our choice. Here again, since I'm in Tennessee, I always have a tendency to select the Tennessee River Basin. And when I select the operational plans, we can see all the operational plans that are within the Tennessee River Basin. And then if I want to see what are the plans within the operational plans in Tennessee River Basin that are up for relicensing between 2020 and 2025. So I put my floor and ceiling for the FERC license expiration date and apply that filter. And as you can see, only a few plans are up for relicensing between 2020 and 2025. So this just again helps you analyze and visualize the location of the plants in a more user-friendly way rather than going over a spreadsheet full of data. And once you have recognized the hydropower plants that are up for relicensing, FERC requires you all to submit mitigations associated with those hydropower assets, right? So how can we recognize some of the mitigations that are associated with those hydropower plants that are up for relicensing? So what we do is we have a data set called the mitigation database that holds all the mitigations that are associated with those operational plans. So when you identify those plants that are up for relicensing, then we can click on the environmental mitigation layer and see some of the mitigations that are associated with the with those plants that are up for relicensing. We can also see like what all the mitigations are through a tab called the related data set, that is called the related data sets are the data sets that are related to an existing selection. So we can access the environmental mitigations through two ways. One is directly going through the mitigation data set, or we can use the load related data to access the environmental mitigations. And as you can see, we can see some of the environmental mitigations that are associated with the plants that are up for relicensing between 2020 and 2025 in the Tennessee River Basin. So to wrap up, I would like to point out that HydroSource provides stewardship of science quality data, thereby enhancing access to data to serve the data needs of a diverse user base that facilitates interdisciplinary investigations through efficient and harmonized data systems. The advances, collaborations, and engagement initiated through the HydroSource program should greatly expand the data landscape with respect to hydropower operations, fostering robust decision-making for water energy planning efforts, and also potentially allowing the United States to grow its use of hydroelectricity safely and sustainably. HydroSource will also develop and maintain partnerships to expand the use of open data, promote open science, and increase the use of data across multidisciplinary, multi-agency organizations through a dedicated user working group, which will help demonstrate leadership in the water data landscape. An example of this is our collaboration with the Internet of Water. So as Faith mentioned at the beginning of our presentation, that HydroSource is a water data hub for Internet of Water. So eventually, once the Internet of Water's platform to access water data is functional, you can access HydroSource data through the Internet of Water's data platform. You don't have to always come to HydroSource to access data. So along with other water data that Internet of Water is going to provide access to, you can also have access to the HydroSource data sets. So this will help in improved decision-making process and basin-wide management of river resources for multiple objectives, including energy. So that's all I have for you all, and I will stop here and answer any questions that you all may have. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Debjani. What a powerful tool and platform you've created, and just so much work. I can see how much work you all have put into this. Over how long is that? How long have you been working on HydroSource? When did it start its development? And
okay, so HydroSource has a long history. So I didn't touch on that, but I'm glad that you brought it up. So way back in 2010, the Water Power Technologies Office wanted to develop a data set that is going to provide you all with all the hydropower assets across the country. Okay, so that is how we started developing data sets at our end. And all the hydropower assets means that we gather data from multiple sources like EIA, like all our other federal inventories, and then finally manage to have a data set called the EHA, the existing hydropower assets. And since then, we tried adding other resources that is going to help any stakeholder groups like from EHA, what we or the existing hydropower assets, what we do is, as I showed you in the presentation, we also have data sets that provides you with both annual generation across the across the 2,200 assets that we have across the country. And also we have monthly generation from 2003 onwards for each of those assets. So then what you can do is you can use those, like monthly and annual generation and see how has each asset's generation and capacity varied over time and what can be the cause. It can be like climate, it can be anthropogenic, like, water use, or it can be many other things that we really don't know of. It may be also that many of our dams or reservoirs are old, and, like because of that, there can be fluctuations in generation and capacity. So that's how we started. And then over the years, we started building applications mostly required by our funding agency as Water Power Technologies Office, and started developing other data sets that can be of help to our broader community. So, but these were all, I would say, one-off developments, but it was not consolidated under any platform as such. But in 2019, when I took over as the PI, I was identified, basically, means I didn't take over, I was identified to put this all together under one umbrella. So, like consolidate everything, build a website that people can access our data, because we put in a lot of effort to, like develop the tools and data, right? So we kind of started consolidating everything into the HydroSource platform from 2019 onwards. And that's when I remember talking with Peter and Kyle, and started our collaboration also with Internet of Water, so that as we are building up HydroSource, we can also start developing it as a water data hub, so that, it can also be broadly accessed by a lot of people, like not just our stakeholders, right? So that is the history of HydroSource. So 2019 to 2023, so it's been 4 years, running 5, that we have been focusing on this whole big platform.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing that. Along the same kind of historical lines, we have a question from Adil, and I'll read his comment and then questions, and you can answer accordingly. This is an impressive tool. Thanks for the demo. I'm curious about the tool development to help inform our own work. Adil is from Western States Water Council at WADE at the Water Data Exchange.
Yes.
Do you mind sharing if the tool was developed in-house? If so, how many full-time employees are involved and for how long? What was the total budget to develop the tool? Do you track monthly visitors and users? If so, how many? Have you seen it increase or decrease the usability?
Yes. Yeah. So I'll start off with our budget started with very, very tiny budget, so I think when compared with federal funding to Oak Ridge National Lab, the budget was very tiny. It started off with around $650,000 a year, and then it has grown over the years. It fluctuates between 1.5 million to sometimes it is less, depends on like what our Congress budgets us for. So that has been the kind of like I would say an average budget 1.5 1.6 million a year, and then full-time employees. Yes, we have around 6 full-time employees on this project, so like including me, but we also have other projects to work on, so it's not that 6 full-time, but like 6 people working on this project with their time split across various other projects. And we do have a way of tracking like users on our website. We use a tool called Site Improve, and if you want, I can share more metrics. But right now, yes, we do see an increase in in visitors to the website, but I would like to see an increase in the downloads from the website. So right now, what we usually see is, because it is a very new website, 5 years is nothing compared to NASA's data portals or USGS data portals, right? So we are seeing an uptick in the number of visitors, but we haven't seen an uptick in the number of downloads, barring a few of the, like high visible or high required or high profile data sets. So that's the whole purpose of reaching out to all of you to, so that we can encourage you all to download data from our portal, and also to use those data sets in your day-to-day work.
Thank you, Devjani. Very helpful. David Wegner has two questions. I will read his first question first. Is there a layer in the database that can be used to sort for environmental flow programs for various dam operation plans?
Right now, we don't have that, because most of the data that we have in our existing hydropower assets is like, we have federal dams and also non-federal reservoirs, and we don't have the environmental flow data from all the non-federal ones. It's hard to get. But if you know of a source, then we would be happy to, include that in our on our platform.
He actually gave an example that might be helpful to answer the question. He says, for example, for a Federal Corps of Engineer dam that has an existing operational plan, is there a date, or like, for example, a year, when the operational plan will be reviewed? He says, this is important in respect to changing hydrology patterns that may be experiencing more extreme and or variable runoff or rainfall conditions.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, David. I will look into that and probably reach out to you to, to improve some of our data holdings and our use cases by thinking through your suggestion of this particular, use case. We currently don't have it, but we are always looking for inputs for improvement. So if you think that is an important aspect that we should have on our platform, I'll reach out to you and work with you on that, if that's okay with you.
This is exactly the kind of questions and feedback we're looking for. And so I wanted to check in with you, David. Is it okay if we get in touch with you directly after the webinar? Because we would, for sure, like to explore the possibility of expanding the functionality.
Yes.
So Otto wanted to thank you for your response. And David said, yes, definitely we can get in touch with him. Thank you, David. So Otto, this is a very specific question he's asking you, and maybe Devjani, if you don't know the answer now and here, you can look into it and we can get back to Otto on this. He asked, do you remember a rough monthly visitors or downloads?
No, I don't remember the rough monthly visitors, but I think the last time I checked, there were around 12,000 visitors over a period of time. Now, I forgot what was my period of time that I had put in, but we can always get back to you, like roughly what's the monthly number of visitors.
Excellent. I don't see any other questions, but I have some questions for you, Donnie. And please, if any questions jog anybody's mind out there, feel free to add it to the Q&A. We will get to it right away. So can you tell us, what are some future improvements that are in the works for HydroSource?
Yes, so what we are trying to, so right now, like the HydroSource Data Explorer basically provides you with a snapshot of all the data that are housed on HydroSource, and you can like explore those data sets spatially and also visualize them and see the linkages between the various data sets, but you cannot store your work. Means in the sense that if you did some analysis this week and you want to resume your analysis 2 or 3 weeks down the line, then your analysis this week is all lost unless you download the analyzed data set at the end of your analysis, which we always don't do it, right? So what we are trying to do is we are trying to create a user space where you can save your analysis, save your work, so that you can come and revisit your work another time. So it can, like your work is not lost. So we got this input from another user of ours who said that we have to keep on doing what we did the last time till we actually get to the end of it, because we are so busy, we can get distracted, or like we might have to step away from our work and focus on something else. But by the time we come back, we have lost it. So we have to recreate our work again and again. So that's one thing that we are trying to, address. The only challenge that we have for it is we are trying to make all our data open and accessible. But for this, we will have to implement a login because you want your own user space. So we are trying to do it in a more fair way so that, like we are not impeding on any so-called inaccessible domains. Or I would say we still want to make everything accessible, and by implementing a login, we don't want people to feel that our data is not accessible or behind a login wall. So we are just trying to, be mindful of that. That's one thing that we are trying to improve. The other thing that we are trying to improve is general usability of our tools. Right now, we have several tools, but they are all kind of their own. So if you visit the Data Explorer, then you can't see the US stream classification. Or whereas, like as part of your analysis, you might need the US stream classification, right? Means you have a stream and you want to see how can I classify this stream, and then use the data in the Data Explorer to, do your advanced analysis. So we realize that many of our tools are kind of disjointed from each other. So we are trying to revamp I would say the user platform or the user experience so that navigating between the tools is easy and also the tools are connected to each other. So let's say you have a stream and you want to, classify it, fine, you classified it. Now you want to see, okay, what are the assets around that stream? So you move from this classification tool into the Data Explorer seamlessly. And then you want to see how is that stream going to be impacted due to climate change. Then from the Data Explorer or the facilities which are going to be impacted by climate change, so you can move to the climate hydrologic platform, seamlessly to see that. So we are trying to do that. It might take some time, but that is another thing that is in the works. So these are two major improvements that we are working on right now.
Well, thank you, Debjani. That sounds like, yeah, you have your work cut out for you.
Yes, but to follow up on this, if you all have any suggestions that you saw is missing, like from this platform, and you think will be helpful to you all to use this, please reach out to Faith or me, and we can work with you to get those taken care of or get those incorporated and implemented in this platform.
And Debjani, on that note, would you be willing if we were able to put your email address in
Yes.
chat?
Yes.
Okay, great. So please include Debjani's email address in chat so everyone has access to that. We do actually have another questions, two more questions. The next question is, would this be a tool for private utilities to share spillway gate operations with federal partners in a river basin during high flow events?
Yes, if you are okay with, sharing the data publicly, yes, we can always, like have that on our platform. Or if you have data from the private utilities and they are okay with you sharing with us, please feel free to do so. We have had a hard time getting data from private utilities to share with the public, as you would understand, but we are looking for more open and, like public data access so that most of us, like you and me, can, like do our work.
Debjani, what if they don't want to share their data openly? And I'm asking that question. That's a question from me, not from
Okay.
the participant.
Okay, so if they don't want to share the data publicly, then in that case, we cannot put it on the HydroSource platform. What we can do is we can host the data at our end and only provide, like that data to the federal agencies or Water Power Technologies Office if they need it for. That's it. That's about it. We can't do anything more. Means we can't share it through this platform.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so finally, we'll leave this as the last question unless anything else comes in. Otto wanted to suggest if you might be interested, Debjani, in relating HydroSource with relevant water rights data across the West. He says he understands it depends on use cases and users' interests, but wanted to suggest and ask you if you might be interested.
Yes, I am very interested. And, like, it's a funny story. I plan to hire a postdoc and we were discussing, so we have identified the candidate after an interview. And that candidate reached out to me last week asking, hey, what am I going to work on? And this is something that came up in the discussion is, okay, like we don't have a good handle of water rights data, and that would be a good thing to work on for the postdoc. So I'm excited to hear the similar question from you. And yes, I would love to, explore water rights data and make that useful to our stakeholder.
Excellent. So the Water Data Exchange out of the Western States Water Council is also an IOW water data hub. And so
Yes.
we have connected water rights data to many other, different types of data sources. And this would be, incredible added value.
Yes, perfect. Yeah.
Wonderful. I do not see any other questions here. But I wanted to thank you, Debjani, for such a thorough presentation. And we're excited to see what's next in HydroSource. It's such an important resource for all of us. So thank you so much for working on it and for presenting on it today.